The Dauntless hung in space between the Arcturus colony and the three Confederation ships. Its engines glowed with an unusual blue light, as Ha-Un and Tae-Yang prepared their desperate plan. All power diverted to the modified warp drive. Ha-Un reported from engineering. Her voice sounded tired but determined. "We'll only get one shot at this, Captain." On the bridge, Junho watched the Confederation ships on the view screen. They were moving into attack position, weapons charged and ready to destroy the asteroid colony. "Evacuation status?" he asked. 60% complete, Minji replied. "We need at least 30 more minutes to get everyone out." Ambassador Zorlik stood nearby, his blue skin pale with concern. "Captain Park, I must inform you that interfering with a Confederation sterilization operation is punishable by permanent exile." "Noted," Junho said simply. He opened a communication channel to the lead Confederation ship. "Captain Zrelth, this is the Dauntless. We request more time for evacuation. We've established communication with the crystal entities and believe a peaceful solution is possible." The alien captain's face appeared on screen. "Captain Park, your request is denied. Our sensors detect thousands of these entities inside the asteroid. The risk of contamination is too high. They're refugees, not invaders," Junho argued. "They need resources we can easily provide." "Irrelevant. The decision has been made. Stand down or be considered hostile." The communication cut off. Junho turned to Do-hyun. "Position us directly between their ships and the colony." "Aye, Captain," the pilot said, maneuvering the Dauntless into a protective position. "They will fire through us if necessary," Zorlix warned. "Then we'd better make sure our plan works," Junho replied. He pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All hands, secure for emergency maneuver. Ha-Un, are you ready?" "As ready as we'll ever be," the chief engineer responded. "EMP device is charged. But Captain, this will likely disable our ship completely. We'll be dead in space." "Better dead in space than living with genocide on our conscience," Junho said. "Activate on my mark." On the colony, the last shuttles were being loaded with colonists. Jiwoo had stayed behind with a group of crystal creatures continuing to communicate with them. Sang-min and his security team formed a protective circle around them. "The Dauntless is going to try something risky," Jiwoo told Spark through her translation device. "We need your help afterward." The crystal creature flashed colors of agreement. Around them, hundreds more creatures had gathered, their bodies glowing with gentle colors. Back on the Dauntless, the Confederation ships were powering up their main weapons. "They're targeting the colony," Minji reported. "Firing sequence initiated." Junho took a deep breath. "Ha-Un, now." In engineering, Ha-Un connected the final circuit. The ship's modified warp drive began to vibrate at an impossible frequency. Instead of creating a warp field for travel, it generated waves of electromagnetic energy that pulsed outward in all directions. The lights on the Dauntless flickered and died. Emergency systems failed. The ship went completely dark. But the pulse continued outward, washing over the Confederation ships. One by one, their weapons powered down. Their engines stopped. Their lights went out. "It worked," Minji whispered, in the darkness of the bridge. Outside, all four ships, the Dauntless and the three Confederation vessels, drifted silently in space. None had power. None could move or communicate. On the colony, Jiwoo saw the ships go dark. "Now," she told Spark. "We need to help them." The crystal creature flashed commands to the others. Hundreds of them began to move, forming into groups. They combined their bodies into larger structures, creating crystal platforms that glowed with internal light. Colonists watched in amazement as the creatures formed floating crystal rafts. Spark indicated through Jiwoo that the colonists should board them. "They're offering to transport us to the shuttles," Jiwoo explained to Sang-min. "Can we trust them?" he asked. "I believe we can." With no other choice, the remaining colonists carefully stepped onto the crystal platforms. The creatures carried them safely to the waiting shuttles, moving much faster than the humans could have on foot. In space, the Dauntless floated helplessly. The bridge crew worked by the light of emergency chemical sticks. Damage report? Junho asked. Everything is fried, Minji replied. We have no power, no communications, no life support. Emergency oxygen will last about 6 hours. The Confederation, ships, in the same condition from what we can see. Junho turned to Ambassador Zorlix. Well, Ambassador, it seems we'll all have plenty of time to discuss the merits of breaking protocol. Before the alien could respond, something strange appeared, outside the view screen. A glowing crystal structure was approaching the ship. It looked like a platform made of hundreds of crystal creatures fused together. What is that? Do-hyun asked. The crystal platform attached itself to the Dauntless's hull. More platforms appeared, connecting to different parts of the ship. The creatures began to glow with intense light. Slowly, the emergency lights on the bridge came back. Computer systems rebooted, the engines hummed back to life. They're powering our ship, Taeyang said in amazement. They're feeding energy directly into our systems. Junho's communicator beeped. Captain, Jiwoo's voice came through. Spark and the others want to help. They can restore power to your ship. I can see that, Junho replied, smiling. Tell them thank you. Over the next hour, the crystal creatures helped restart the Dauntless's systems. Hyun worked with them, discovering that they could store and transfer energy in ways that defied Confederation physics. The colony evacuation continued, with all remaining colonists safely transported to shuttles. The crystal creatures even helped restore minimal power to the Confederation ships, just enough for life support but not weapons. 3 days later, the Dauntless approached Confederation headquarters, escorted by 6 security vessels. The ship looked strange. Parts of its hull now incorporated crystal structures that glowed with soft blue light. Inside, Spark and a small group of the creatures moved freely among the human crew. In the main conference room, Junho stood before the Confederation Council. Ambassador Zorlix stood beside him, looking uncomfortable but determined. What you did violated 17 major protocols, the council leader said. You disabled Confederation warships. You interfered with a quarantine operation. We prevented a genocide, Junho replied calmly, and we made first contact with a refugee species that has technology we can all benefit from. He gestured to Spark, who changed colors in a pattern that Jiwoo translated for the council. The crystal entities, they call themselves the Lumi, offer an exchange. Earth will provide them with minerals we consider waste, and they will share their energy storage technology, which is centuries beyond anything the Confederation has developed. The council members whispered among themselves. Finally, the leader spoke again. Your methods are chaotic and dangerous, Captain Park. Your ship violates basic engineering principles. Your crew ignores established protocols. Junho nodded. Yes, and yet, the leader continued reluctantly, you have achieved results that our best ships could not. You saved thousands of lives and established peaceful contact with a new species. The leader looked at the other council members, who nodded, in agreement. The Confederation has existed for 12,000 years by following strict rules and logical procedures. But perhaps there is room for a different approach. Junho smiled. Humans don't always follow the rules, but we find ways to make things work. So it seems, the leader acknowledged. The Dauntless will be the first ship in a new class of exploration vessels, and you, Captain Park, will train others in your unique methods. As Junho and his crew left the council chamber, Ambassador Zorlix approached him. I still do not understand how your ship functions, the alien admitted. By all scientific principles, it should fail. That's the thing about humans, Junho said, watching Spark communicate with Jiwoo nearby. Everything about our approach might seem wrong by your standards, but we keep going anyway. And sometimes that makes all the difference in the universe. Commander Tae-hyun stood in the center of the command deck, his four-fingered hands clasped behind his back. His gray skin looked even more pale under the blue lights of the ship. The large screen in front of him showed a map of stars with one small blue dot marked Earth in the center. Show me the disappearance points again, he ordered. Officer Gina touched her control panel. 12 red dots appeared around Earth's solar system. Each dot represented a scout ship that had vanished without a trace. 12 ships in 3 cycles, Taehyun said. His voice was calm, but everyone on the bridge could see the worry in his large, dark eyes. No wreckage, no distress calls, nothing. The command deck of the Stellar Observer was quiet. The 20 crew members worked at their stations, but no one spoke. They all knew what these disappearances meant. Something was very wrong near Earth. Gina approached him with a data pad. She was shorter than Taehyun, with the same gray skin and large eyes. Her uniform showed she was the ship's lead analyst. "Commander, I've studied all the data," she said. "The pattern is clear. Every ship disappeared exactly 0.3 light-years from Earth. It forms a perfect circle around their solar system." Taehyun took the pad and studied it. "What could cause this? A natural space event?" "No, sir. Natural events don't make perfect circles, and they don't target only our ships." Taehyun nodded slowly. He had suspected this answer. "So it must be... what? A weapon? A trap?" "Unknown, sir. But whatever it is, it shouldn't exist. Not near Earth." Taehyun walked to the large window at the front of the bridge. From here he could see the stars spread out before him like tiny diamonds on black cloth. Somewhere out there was Earth, a planet that shouldn't be a threat to anyone. Earth was classified as a pre-FTL civilization in the Galactic Alliance database. This meant humans had not yet discovered faster-than-light travel. They had only basic space technology. They had visited their moon and sent simple probes to nearby planets. Nothing more. Such a primitive species could not possibly be responsible for making Alliance ships disappear. It made no sense. "Sir," called Minsu from the communication station. "Message from the High Council." Taehyun straightened his uniform. "Put it through to my private office." In his small office, Taehyun sat at his desk and pressed a button. The stern face of Counselor Do-hyun appeared on the screen. The old alien's skin was darker gray, and the ridges on his forehead were deep with age. "Commander Taehyun, the Council is concerned about these disappearances." "Yes, Counselor. We are investigating. 12 ships, Commander, 12 crews lost. This is unacceptable." Taehyun lowered his eyes. "I understand, sir. The Council has made a decision. You will take your ship closer to Earth. You will discover what is happening to our vessels." Taehyun looked up in surprise. "Sir, with respect, Alliance rules state that pre-FTL civilizations must not be approached within 0.5 light-years. These humans may be more than they appear." Counselor Do-hyun cut in. "Or perhaps something else is hiding near their world. Either way, you will investigate. Directly." "But sir, that is an order, Commander. Find out what is happening to our ships. The Stellar Observer is our most advanced vessel. If any ship can solve this mystery, it's yours." The screen went dark before Taehyun could respond. For a long moment he sat in silence. In 20 cycles of service to the Alliance, he had never broken the non-interference rules. No one had. The rules existed to protect developing civilizations, to let them grow naturally without outside influence. But orders were orders. When Taehyun returned to the bridge, all eyes turned to him. They could see from his face that something was wrong. "New orders," he announced. "We are to approach Earth directly and investigate the disappearances." A murmur swept through the bridge. Gina stepped forward. "Commander, that's against the non-interference rules." "I know, but the High Council has ordered it. 12 ships and crews are missing. We need answers." He turned to the navigation officer. "Donghae, set a course for the Earth solar system. Keep us at 0.4 light-years distance for initial observations." "Yes, sir," Donghae said, his fingers moving over the control panel. "Hyunju," Taehyun said to his weapons specialist, "prepare defensive systems, but do not activate weapons unless I give the order." The red-uniformed officer nodded. "Understood, Commander." Taehyun returned to the center of the bridge. "All stations, prepare for FTL jump. We depart in 1 hour." As the crew rushed to their duties, Gina approached Taehyun again. Her voice was low so only he could hear. "Commander, what do you think we'll find?" Taehyun shook his head. "I don't know. But I have a feeling it's not what the Council expects." "Do you think, could humans be responsible? Could they have technology we don't know about?" "The reports say they've barely reached their own moon. They use chemical rockets and radio waves. They couldn't possibly detect our ships, let alone make them disappear." Gina looked troubled. "Then what is it?" "That's what we're going to find out." 1 hour later, the Stellar Observer was ready. The massive ship, nearly 1 kilometer long, hummed with power. Its sleek silver hull gleamed in the light of the distant stars. Taehyun sat in the command chair. "All stations report." One by one, the officers called out their readiness. Navigation ready. Engines ready. Sensors ready. Communications ready. Defensive systems ready. Taehyun nodded. "Engage FTL drive." The stars outside the window stretched into lines as the ship jumped to faster than light speed. The Stellar Observer disappeared from its position and began its journey to Earth. In his chair, Taehyun felt the weight of his responsibility. Whatever they found near Earth could change everything. If humans were somehow responsible for the disappearances, it would mean they had technology far beyond what the Alliance thought possible. It would mean the Alliance had severely underestimated them. And if it wasn't humans, what could it be? What power could make ships vanish without a trace? The questions spun in Taehyun's mind as the ship hurtled through space. 3 days later, the Stellar Observer dropped out of FTL travel at the edge of the Earth's solar system, well beyond the 0.3 light-year danger zone. "Passive scans only," Taehyun ordered. "I don't want to alert whatever is out there." The crew worked in tense silence as the ship's sensors reached out, gathering data. Suddenly, Min-soo at the communications station sat up straight. "Commander, I'm detecting signals, artificial signals." Taehyun hurried to his station. "From where? One of our missing ships?" "No, sir. They're coming from Earth. Radio waves, but..." Min-soo's voice faltered. "What is it, officer?" Taehyun demanded. Min-soo looked up, his face showing disbelief. "Sir, they're talking about us, the humans. They know we're here." Taehyun and his officers sat in a large white room aboard the human space station. The walls were smooth and curved, with no visible doors or windows. The only furniture was a round table with chairs. Everything was clean, simple, and more advanced than it should be. Director Sunwoo and Security Chief Junho sat across from them. 3 other humans stood quietly near the wall. "This station shouldn't exist," Gina said, looking around with wide eyes. "Your species is barely supposed to have a small space station in your own orbit. Nothing like this." Sunwoo placed her hands flat on the table. "We've been expecting you for some time, Commander Taehyun, though we hoped the disappearances would keep your kind away rather than draw you closer." "You keep saying that," Taehyun replied. "Why were you expecting us? And how do you know so much about the Alliance?" Instead of answering, Sunwoo made a small gesture. The center of the table lit up, and a 3D image appeared. It showed Earth and the surrounding space, with 12 red dots marking positions. "Your missing ships," Sunwoo said. "All captured intact with crews unharmed." Taehyun leaned forward. "Where are they now? We demand their return." "They are safe," Junho said. "The crews are living comfortably in a habitat we built on Venus." "Venus?" Min-soo exclaimed. "Your database says Venus is a hot, poisonous planet, uninhabitable." "Many things in your database about us are wrong," Sunwoo said. "Some by your mistake, some by our design." "What do you mean?" Taehyun asked. He felt a strange mix of fear and curiosity. Sunwoo stood up and walked around the table. 200 years ago, one of your ships crashed on our planet. Not an Alliance ship, something older. The pilot died, but the technology survived." "That's impossible," Yinju said. "We would know if a ship crashed on Earth." "Would you?" Junho asked. "Your Alliance only began monitoring Earth closely 150 years ago. Before that, your records are incomplete." Taehyun felt a cold realization forming. You found advanced technology before we started watching you. Yes, Sunwoo nodded. We recovered the ship, studied it, and learned, but then we made a crucial decision. What decision? Gina asked. To hide our advancement from the galactic community, Sunwoo said simply. She made another gesture, and the image changed. Now it showed hundreds of small devices orbiting planets throughout the galaxy. Your Galactic Alliance Monitoring Network, she explained. We discovered it 90 years ago. We learned how you watch developing worlds, how you classify and rank species, how you decide who gets to join your alliance and on what terms. Taehyun shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The alliance guides developing civilizations for their own protection. Sunwoo's face hardened. You shape civilizations to fit your mold. You determine who trades with whom, who receives what technology. Those who follow your path become trading partners. Those who resist become isolated. The image changed again, showing various alien worlds with alliance ships in orbit. We saw how you've subtly manipulated developing worlds, Junho added, keeping some dependent, elevating others as client states. That's not true, Taehyun protested, but his voice lacked conviction. He knew there was some truth to what the humans were saying, so we decided to advance on our own terms, Sunwoo continued, in secret. She sat down again and looked directly at Taehyun. We reverse-engineered the crashed ship's technology. We made our own discoveries. We built outposts throughout our solar system, and we made sure your monitoring devices only saw what we wanted them to see. But why hide? Minsu asked. Insu? The Alliance offers protection, resources, knowledge. At what cost? Yunho asked. Becoming another member species that follows Alliance rules? Having our development guided along your approved paths? We wanted freedom, Sunwoo said firmly. Freedom to develop as we choose, not as you direct. Taehyun tried to process what he was hearing. If the humans were telling the truth, they had been deceiving the Alliance for decades, advancing their technology in secret while pretending to be a primitive species. Show us, he said finally. Show us what you've really built. Sunwoo touched, a control on her wrist. The entire wall of the room seemed to vanish, revealing a massive window looking out into space. What Taehyun saw made his breath stop. Dozens of ships were docked at the station. Some were small like the interceptors that had captured the Stellar Observer. Others were massive vessels that rivaled Alliance cruisers in size. All showed the same sleek, seamless design. This is just one outpost, Sunwoo said quietly. We have many more, some in this solar system, some beyond. Beyond? Gina whispered. You've left your solar system? Of course. We have small colonies in nearby star systems, all hidden from your sensors. Taehyun stood up and walked to the window. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. According to Alliance records, humans had only sent primitive probes beyond their planet. They had walked on their moon, yes, but nothing more. They still used chemical rockets and had barely established a small station in their own orbit. But here was proof that humans had built ships, stations, and apparently even colonies on other worlds. All while the Alliance thought they were still struggling to reach Mars. How? He asked simply. How did you hide all of this? The same technology that lets our ships move without leaving energy signatures, Junho explained. We can mask almost anything from Alliance sensors. And the ships you captured? Hyunju asked. Why take them? At first to learn, Sunwoo admitted. Your technology still exceeds ours in some areas, but then it became necessary to prevent the Alliance from learning about us. Your scout ships were getting too close to our hidden outposts. We didn't destroy them, Junho added quickly. We captured them intact. Your crew members are safe. Taehyun turned back to face the humans. You realize that by taking Alliance ships, you've committed an act of war. Sunwoo nodded calmly. We know, but we hoped to delay open contact until we were ready. Until we could meet the Alliance as equals, not as a species to be guided and controlled. The High Council will not see it that way, Taehyun warned. When I report what I've seen here, that's why we brought you here, Sunwoo interrupted. To show you the truth, yes, but also to ask for your help. My help? Taehyun. was surprised. With what? With how this knowledge reaches your council, Junho said. You can report that we're a dangerous species that must be contained or destroyed. Or you can tell them that we wish for peaceful relations, but on equal terms. Taehyun looked at his officers. They seemed just as confused and conflicted as he felt. Why would I help you, he asked. My duty is to the Alliance. Is your duty to the Alliance or to peace? Sunwoo asked. We don't want war, Commander. We want independence. The right to develop on our own path. She stood and joined Taehyun by the window. Together they looked out at the fleet of human ships. We've been watching you watching us, she said softly. Your reports classify us as primitive tool users barely reaching our moon. We decided to maintain that fiction, for now. Taehyun realized the enormous choice before him. Report the truth and likely start a war, or help the humans keep their secret a little longer. I need to see more, he said finally. I need to see my missing crews. I need to understand exactly what humans have built. Then I'll decide, Sunwoo smiled for the first time since they'd met. That's all we ask, Commander. A chance to show you who we really are. The human transport ship moved silently through space. Taehyun and his officers sat near the windows, watching stars slide by. Director Sunwoo had promised to show them the truth about humanity. Now they were heading to what the humans called Fleet Base Alpha, hidden somewhere near Jupiter. How much farther? Taehyun asked. Almost there, Junho replied from the pilot's seat. Approaching the dimensional fold now. Dimensional fold? Gina leaned forward with interest. You have dimension-shifting technology? Sunwoo nodded. A basic version, yes, we can create small pockets of space that exist slightly out of phase with normal space. They can't be detected by standard sensors. That's at least level 3 technology, Hyunju whispered to Taehyun. The Alliance doesn't share that with new member species until they've been in the Alliance for at least 50 years. Taehyun nodded, grimly. The more he learned about human capabilities, the more worried he became about how the High Council would react. Entering fold now, Junho announced. Outside the window, space seemed to ripple like water. Then, suddenly the stars disappeared. In their place appeared hundreds of lights, running lights on ships, lots of ships. By the Founders, Minsu gasped. As they flew closer, Taehyun and his crew stared in disbelief. A massive human fleet sat concealed within the dimensional pocket. There were ships of all sizes, small fighters, medium transports, and enormous carriers larger than anything in the Alliance patrol fleets. At the center of it all floated a space station shaped like a wheel, with ships docked all around its edge like the spokes of a wheel. Welcome to Fleet Base Alpha, Sunwoo said quietly, watching their faces. This is impossible, Taehyun whispered. According to Alliance records, humans had built exactly 17 small spacecraft, most of which couldn't leave Earth's orbit. Here were hundreds of advanced vessels hidden in a dimensional pocket that shouldn't exist. The transport docked at the central station. As they walked through the corridors, Taehyun noticed how everything was clean, efficient, and clearly designed. For space. This was not the work of a species new to space travel. This was the work of a species that had been living in space for generations. They entered a large command center filled with humans working at control stations. A tall man with short gray hair approached them. Commander Taehyun, Sunwoo said. This is Fleet Admiral Ji-hoon, commander of our defense forces. Ji-hoon bowed slightly. Welcome to our humble base, Commander. Taehyun returned the bow. There is nothing humble about this, Admiral. You've hidden all of this from the Alliance for how long? This particular base? About 50 years, Ji-hoon replied. But we've been in space for much longer. He gestured for them to follow him to a large viewing window overlooking a massive dry dock. Inside it sat an Alliance scout ship being carefully examined by human technicians. Those scout ships that disappeared? Ji-hoon explained. We captured them intact. Your crews are safe, living comfortably on Venus. We've learned much from them. You've been studying our technology, Hyunju said. It wasn't a question. Yes, Ji-hoon admitted. Just as you study other species, the difference is we don't interfere with their development. You've been lying to the galaxy, Taehyun accused, pretending to be primitive while building all this, in secret. We've been protecting ourselves, Jihoon countered. Your alliance absorbs civilizations. The strong become partners, the weak become servants. We chose a third option. He led them through more corridors, showing them research labs, training facilities, and engineering sections. Everywhere, humans worked with technology that should have been centuries beyond their reach. How many ships do you have? Gina asked as they watched a new vessel under construction. In total? Over 500 combat-capable ships, Jihoon said, plus research vessels, colony ships, and transports. Colony ships? Minsu asked. You've established colonies beyond your system? Small ones, yes, in nearby systems. All hidden, of course. Taehyun shook his head in disbelief. The Alliance monitors this entire sector. How have you moved ships? Between star systems without being detected? Jihoon smiled slightly. The same way we captured your scout ships. We can move without leaving energy signatures that your sensors can detect. He led them to another section of the station, where a group of humans worked on what looked like a weapon. This is our latest development, Jihoon explained. A device that can disable any ship without harming its crew or systems. That's what you used on our scout ships? Hyunju asked, examining the device with professional interest. An earlier version, yes. It creates a field that temporarily stops all energy flow in mechanical and electronic systems. The ship goes dark, we bring it in. Why show us all this? Taehyun asked suddenly. Why reveal your secrets now? Sunwoo, who had been quiet during the tour, stepped forward. Because we're reaching a tipping point, Commander. We can't keep capturing your ships forever. Eventually the Alliance will send a battle fleet, not just a cruiser. And you want me to... What? Keep your secret? Taehyun asked. We want you to understand us, Jihoon said. To see that we aren't a threat to the Alliance. We don't want war or conquest, we just want to develop on our own terms. They entered a large conference room with a view of the fleet outside. On a screen on the wall, Taehyun could see images of a beautiful domed city on what must be Venus. A world that Alliance records said was impossible to inhabit. Those are your missing crews, Sunwoo said, pointing to the screen. They're treated well, given comfortable living quarters, good food, and entertainment. They can move freely within the city. They're still prisoners, Taehyun said. Guests, Jihoon corrected, who can't leave yet, for their safety and ours. Taehyun turned to face the humans. You must know that the High Council will not accept this situation. When I report what I've seen, that's exactly what we need to discuss. Sunwoo interrupted. What you will report. She touched a control and a data crystal appeared from a slot in the table. This contains evidence of Alliance activities throughout the galaxy, she explained. Monitoring networks. Manipulation of developing worlds. Resource exploitation disguised as assistance. Cultural interference beyond anything your people admitted to you. Taehyun picked up the crystal and examined it. Where did you get this information? From your own ships, Jihoon said. From your crews who didn't realize how much they knew, and from our own exploration over the past century. Taehyun placed the crystal back on the table. Even if this is true, my duty is clear. I must report the existence of your fleet and technology to the High Council. And start a war? Sunwoo asked quietly. The room fell silent. Taehyun looked at his officers, then back at the human leaders. Show me my crews, he said finally. Let me speak with them, then I'll decide what to report. Jihoon nodded. A fair request. We'll take you to Venus tomorrow. As they prepared to return to the transport ship, Taehyun paused to look once more at the human fleet through the window. It was impressive, certainly, but he knew the Alliance could still overwhelm it with their full military might. And yet, these humans had captured 12 Alliance ships without firing a shot. They had built a hidden fleet and colonies without being detected. They had technology that, in some ways, rivaled or even exceeded Alliance capabilities. We've been watching you watching us, Jihoon said, joining him at the window. Your reports classify us as primitive tool users barely reaching our moon. He turned to face Taehyun directly. We decided to maintain that fiction, but the time for hiding is almost over, Commander. The question is, will our emergence onto the galactic stage be peaceful or will it be war? Taehyun stood alone in his quarters aboard the Stellar Observer. The ship had been released by the humans and now floated at the edge of Earth's solar system. His crew had returned to their duties, but they were quiet, thoughtful. Everything they knew about humans had changed. On his desk sat the data crystal the humans had given him. It contained proof of Alliance activities that troubled him deeply. Manipulation of developing worlds, resource exploitation disguised as assistance, cultural interference that went against everything the Alliance claimed to stand for. Most disturbing were the records of species whose development had been deliberately slowed because the Alliance deemed them too aggressive or culturally incompatible. These worlds had been kept primitive through subtle sabotage and misinformation. Taehyun had spent the last 2 days on Venus, speaking with the crews of the captured scout ships. They lived in a beautiful domed city with parks, housing, and entertainment. They weren't prisoners, they could move freely within the city. Many had made friends with the humans. Some even said they preferred life on Venus to their previous assignments. All confirmed the same thing. The humans had captured their ships without harming anyone. They had been treated with respect and kindness from the start. Now Taehyun faced the most difficult decision of his life. Alliance protocol demanded that he report everything to the High Council, the hidden fleet, the advanced technology, the captured crews. Such a report would almost certainly lead to military action against Earth. The Alliance couldn't allow a species to develop this much power in secret. But was that the right thing to do? There was a soft beep as Gina requested entry to his quarters. "Come in," he called. Gina entered, looking tired but calm. "The crew is asking questions, sir. They want to know what happens next." Taehyun gestured for her to sit. "What do you think I should do, Gina?" She was quiet for a moment before answering. "They could have destroyed our ships. Instead, they captured them safely. They could have kept us prisoner or extracted information forcibly. They didn't. That doesn't change the, fact that they've been deceiving the Alliance for generations," Taehyun said. "True," Gina admitted. "But after seeing their evidence," she gestured to the data crystal, "perhaps they had good reason not to trust the Alliance." Taehyun stood and paced the small room. "If I report everything I've seen, the Council will send a battle fleet. There will be war, and many will die on both sides," Gina added. "The humans have impressive technology, but the Alliance has numbers. They can't win. Are you suggesting I lie to the Council? That I hide what we've discovered?" Gina looked him directly in the eyes. "I'm suggesting you consider all options, Commander, including those that don't follow protocol." After she left, Taehyun sat at his desk and reviewed the ship's logs. They had recorded everything. The encounter with the human ships, the visit to the station, the tour of the fleet. Everything that would condemn Earth in the eyes of the Council. He thought about Director Sunwoo's words. "We don't want war, Commander. We want independence, the right to develop on our own path." Was that so wrong? Didn't every species deserve that chance? Hours passed as Taehyun weighed his options. Finally, as the ship's night cycle began, he made his decision. He called his senior officers to the command deck. "I've decided what we will report to the High Council," he told them, his voice firm. "The disappearances of our scout ships were caused by a previously unknown spatial anomaly near the Sol system. It creates temporary dimensional pockets that pull ships in and then release them days or weeks later." His officers looked at him in surprise. "Sir," Hyunju said carefully, "that's not what happened. It's what we will report," Taehyun replied. "We will also report that the anomaly appears to be natural, though dangerous. We will recommend that all Alliance ships avoid the Sol system until further study can be conducted." Min-Soo frowned. "And the humans? Their fleet? Their technology?" "We found no evidence that humans have advanced beyond their current classification," Taehyun said. "They remain a pre-FTL civilization of limited technological capacity." The officers exchanged glances. What Taehyun was suggesting was a complete lie. It went against everything they had been taught about their duty to the Alliance. This is my decision, Taehyun continued. I take full responsibility. But before you object, I ask you to consider what will happen if we tell the truth. The Alliance will send a battle fleet. There will be war. Many will die, both human and Alliance. And for what? Because humans chose a different path than the one the Alliance prescribed for them? He picked up the data crystal. And consider this. The evidence here suggests the Alliance has not always been honest with us about how it treats developing worlds. Perhaps it's time for a different approach. The room was silent as his officers thought about his words. Finally, Gina spoke. I support the commander's decision, she said quietly. One by one, the others nodded their agreement. Then it's decided, Taehyun said. Minsu, purge all sensor logs that show human technology beyond their classification level. Hyunju, delete any recordings of the human fleet or stations. Donghae, plot a course back to Alliance space. We leave in 1 hour. As the officers left to carry out his orders, Taehyun returned to his quarters to prepare his report. As he sat at his desk, a message appeared on his screen. It was from Earth, from Director Sunwoo herself. Commander Taehyun, the message read, whatever you decide, know that humans don't want war or dominance. We simply wanted the freedom to develop on our own terms. Perhaps one day we'll join your alliance, not as subjects, but as equals. When that day comes, we hope open-minded individuals like you will help bridge our worlds. The message ended with coordinates, the location of a small human outpost at the edge of the Sol system, hidden from Alliance sensors. If you ever wish to contact us again, the message concluded. Taehyun saved the coordinates to his personal data pad, then deleted the message from the ship's system. 6 hours later, the Stellar Observer jumped to FTL speed, leaving the Sol system behind. In his official report, Taehyun described a dangerous but natural spatial anomaly that had swallowed and later released 12 Alliance ships. He recommended avoiding the area until more research could be done. The High Council accepted his report, without question. Earth remained classified as a pre-FTL civilization of little interest to the Alliance. The missing crews were declared lost, presumably still trapped in the spatial anomaly. But Taehyun knew the truth. Humans weren't primitive. They weren't weak. They had chosen their own path away from Alliance control. And maybe, just maybe, they were better for it. 3 months later, as his ship patrolled a quiet sector far from Earth, Taehyun received a small, untraceable data packet. It contained only a few words. Thank you, Commander. When the time is right, we will meet again as equals. Taehyun deleted the message, but he smiled. Somewhere out there, humanity was growing, developing, preparing to join the galactic community on its own terms. And when that day came, he would be ready to welcome them. The Alliance might not be ready for humans, but humans were certainly ready for the stars.